All right. Okay, so we're recording. Okay, so first things first, you guys all should be working on your final draft. Your final draft is due very soon, like in the next week. So your cover page, this is what your cover page would look like. You have your title, have the title at the top. You can put a picture if you want. It doesn't matter. You don't need the picture. But here's your title. Here's the title of my paper, The Impact of SpongeBob SquarePants on the Genocide of Myanmar, right? And then put research question. Put research question, to what extent was SpongeBob SquarePants the catalyst for the genocide of the Rohingya people in southern Myanmar, right? It's a good, oh wow, Wentow's gonna join us today. Drew, have you got a question, man?
Yeah, what did I just walk into?
This is what your title page of your IA is supposed to look like.
Oh.
Okay, so you put the title, you need research question, you need your word count, session. For all of you guys, your session is May 2021, because that's the time when you're going to be taking the test, right? And then for subject, put history IA.
This is what our EE cover page is supposed to look like too, right?
Yeah, except for your cover page would say history EE or biology EE or whatever it is, right? Don't put your name. Say it again.
Was this an actual IA submitted by a student?
Well, this is my IA when I was a student.
Oh.
No, no, ridiculous. Drew was like, oh my gosh, SpongeBob's a war criminal. Drew, it's a joke, man. You got it? You're with me?
All right, yeah.
Okay, so anyway, this is the format that it should be. Don't put your name on it. Don't put your school. Don't put any identifiers on it. Your work will just get assigned a number. Okay. And then you need a table of contents. This is what your table of contents should be. Just straight up. Analysis of sources, this page. Investigation, this page. Reflection, this page. If you're one of the students who wanted to divide your investigation into parts A, parts B, part C, you can put them in here with the page numbers as well if you want to, like if that makes you feel good, but you don't have to. Okay? Are we good? Give me a thumbs up if you're good. Do you have questions about this? Going once? Questions going twice? Sold. All right, so let me pull up the other screen for you and let's do our lessons, shall we? This is not you guys. This is my last one. Here's you guys. Okay. All right, so when I last left you, I believe, come on, dummy. I believe we were on the SCLC. Is that right?
I think this is what we're supposed to start. We finished the bus boycotts last time.
All right.
Because we ran out of time.
We ran out of time?
We haven't done the SCLC.
All right. Well, let's do it now. All right. Big number, what is it? V, U, X?
What's after V?
V? Kira says it's big number V. V as in Veenstra? Nice. It's the best letter. All right. So big number V is the SCLC. Okay, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the SCLC. So the SCLC is the primary organizational body of Martin Luther King. This is Martin Luther King's primary organization, that he's running this organization, and this is the organization that he uses to organize boycotts and protests and movements and all sorts of stuff. Okay. The organization is actually not founded by King. It's actually founded by Bayard Rustin. By Bayard Rustin. Can you guys remind me who is Bayard Rustin? Where did we see him before? We've encountered him before. What else was he doing? Mike, you got it?
Was he one of the leaders or like one of the commanding or just Yeah, leaders of the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who
the
does-
gay one. Wait, yeah.
He's the gay guy. Yeah, he's the gay
Yeah.
one, right? And he's one of the leaders of the union, the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porter Union. And who does he work with all the time normally?
Philip Randolph.
A. Philip Randolph. Yeah. So Bayard Rustin, this is one of these other examples where Bayard Rustin is this like super important guy behind the scenes, but he just doesn't get a whole ton of credit, right? So what Rustin did is Rustin looked at the Montgomery bus boycotts and he said, this is awesome. We should do this all over the place. But these reverends down here, they don't really know how to organize themselves. Rustin knows how to organize people. He's a labor organizer. He knows what to do. He knows how to run a phone tree. He knows how to collect phone numbers. He knows how to get the word out to people. He knows what he needs to do to get an organization working, right? So he does. He basically approaches Martin Luther King and he says, "You are awesome. You are brilliant. I want you to lead this group." And King is like, "Okay, that sounds good." And then Rustin starts approaching all these other reverends from down south. Okay, all these other reverends. Now we've met Abernathy already, right? He's the reverend that was the big prominent guy over in Montgomery. But this is where we're going to add Kenzie Steele. We're going to add Shuttleworth. We're going to add Lowry. They actually add 60 different reverends, 60 reverends from all across the South, and they all have their own churches that they're running in towns up and down the South. Okay, and they all start to meet in Georgia. This is where we're also going to be introduced to somebody who's going to become very important later on. Her name is Ella Baker. Ella Baker is going to become a very important organizer moving on, but she's just entering our story now. There's still sexism going on, so she's not an actual full member. She's the secretary because she's the only woman. So she's made the secretary of the SCLC. She's from Norfolk, Virginia, but she's actually been living in New York, and she's personal friends with Bayard Rustin, right? So when Rustin goes to her and he says, "Hey, Baker, I'm going to be organizing a whole bunch of preachers down south," and Baker says, "Let me help you. Let's do it," right? And so these two New Yorkers come down and help the Southerners get themselves organized, okay? And it works because almost right away, the SCLC starts organizing bus boycotts in other cities. The Tallahassee bus boycott starts before the Montgomery one ends, right? They start organizing these bus boycotts across the South. It works really, really well. The SCLC over the course of the next couple of years is going to become a very powerful political organization, right? Second only to like the NAACP, basically, right? It's going to be a very, very important political organization. And King will be involved in lots of organizations, but this is his baby. This is the one that he's primarily involved in. Okay? All right, let's go to big number U. Or is it W? Whatever our next one is. All right, so our next one is the Little Rock Nine. Wen Tao, are you with us? Are you even here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I'll turn on your camera. Join the group, man.
I don't have a camera.
You had a camera when you came to your parent-teacher conferences and assured your father that you would do all your work.
Yeah, that was downstairs.
All right, well, join the group, man. Don't be a ghost. All right, so Little Rock 9. Let's go back to Arkansas. We got to deal with our schools, right? Brown v. Board. Brown v. Board. Now, this is all happening at the same time, right? We have to remember these events are all kind of overlapping each other, right? Arkansas reacts to Brown v. Board basically the same way that Virginia does, right? Almost. Arkansas is led by this governor, Orville Faubus, right here. Orville Faubus is the governor of Arkansas, and he basically has a platform of preserving and expanding, preserving segregation as much as he can preserve it. Now, the courts have ordered Arkansas that they have to let black students into the schools. They have to integrate their schools. But Faubus, of course, predictably, argues that he is never going to do that ever. He refuses to do this. And so what Faubus says is that he's going to protect Arkansas schools and he's going to keep the kids out. The NAACP helps get 9 students registered for this school. The school is called Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas. Central High. Sometimes they're going to be called the Central High 9. Sometimes they're called the Little Rock 9, right? If you're looking at like primary source documents from the time period, the name isn't always the same. Most history books today call them the Little Rock 9. All right. The NAACP gets these students enrolled. This is a high school, so the students are all 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. Okay. Orville Faubus decides to protect the school by using the National Guard to keep the kids out. So this is where it's important that we understand. Students oftentimes don't really understand what the National Guard is. And it's important for the story that you understand that. Do you guys know the difference between the Army Reserve, and the National Guard? Kira saying no. Yeah, Drew, you think you know?
Okay, so the Army consists of active duty troops that are at the order of the federal government. Army
Right.
Reserve is the same thing, just pretty much they're reserve men and are deployed less often, 2 weeks to 1 year, something like that. National Guard is the same thing, but however, it's state militia, therefore it's controlled under the states.
There you go. There you go. That's exactly true. Drew is 100% correct. So Army and Reserves are both federal. They're run by the federal government. They're under the direct orders of the president. The Reserves are just part-time, so they just aren't active, right? The Guard, in times of peace, the Guard is run by the state, right? So the Utah National Guard will be under the governor, right? The governor of Utah will use them to like fight wildfires. That happens a lot, right? In Utah, that's what our National Guard does a lot, is fight fires, right? They fight wildfires or like avalanches. They'll help with avalanches. If we have a big earthquake, they'll help with earthquakes. The National Guard down in Florida helps with hurricanes mostly, right? It's that kind of stuff. Cool? Now, Faubus uses the National Guard to block the school. The mayor of Little Rock calls the White House and asks for help. Now, who's the president sitting in the White House at this time? Drew's trying to answer every question today.
Isn't it Dwight D. Eisenhower?
It is Eisenhower. Perfect. Okay, Eisenhower is the president. Okay, now what is Eisenhower the most known for doing, period, in his entire life? What is he most famous for? Kira, what's Eisenhower most famous for? Not being president. He's more famous for something else.
I have no idea.
You have no idea? That's the worst answer. Yash?
Wasn't he like a general?
Yeah, thanks, Yash. Yeah, Eisenhower was the general during World War II, right? We're going to assume that Yash was going to say that. He gets credit for the right answer. All right, so
Okay.
yeah, Eisenhower was general during World War II. He's the guy who beat the Nazis. He's one of our 5-star generals. He's one of only 2 men to ever achieve the rank of 5-star general. Washington and Eisenhower, that's it. The rank of 5-star general doesn't even exist. It's a special award that they've given for just 2 people, a once in 200-year general, right? So when Eisenhower calls up Governor Faubus and he says, Governor Faubus, you cannot use the National Guard for that. You let those kids go to school. Governor Faubus says, Mr. President, you don't have the authority to stop me.
Oof.
Whoops. It's not going to end. I think you've already predicted it's not going to end well for Faubus, right? Because how did I characterize Eisenhower before? Is Eisenhower like super into civil rights? Is he like an activist for civil rights? He's not, is he? Right? Mike, how is he characterized? No, not for civil rights, right? Eisenhower does nothing, 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 and then he makes a very good decision, and then nothing, 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 very good decision, right? Eisenhower believes mostly that this is a state issue, and so he doesn't step in usually, right? This is time where he does. because Faubus has just challenged him. And Eisenhower says, excuse me, you don't tell me how the Army works. I'm Dwight D. Eisenhower. So he orders the 101st Airborne Division to come to Little Rock, Arkansas. Okay, the 101st Airborne Division. Now, the 101st Airborne Division, it's important that it's that division because Eisenhower knows this. They are the most decorated unit in the entire Army. Okay, you may remember the 101st Airborne Division from such battles as D-Day and the Battle of the Bulge and the Siege of Berlin, right? The 101st Airborne Division they also liberated Dachau camp, right? That's the unit that the Band of Brothers, the series, is about, right? The 101st Airborne Division, you're not just bringing in some chumps. You're bringing in the flagship. You're bringing in the best unit in the whole military. And Eisenhower drops them right into Little Rock. They show up at Little Rock, and the commander of the 101st walks up to the commander of the Arkansas National Guard, and he gives him the paperwork, and he says, "You've been activated. Welcome to the Army." Right? Eisenhower takes control of the National Guard, and then Eisenhower orders them, "You, Arkansas National Guard, escort these children into the school." For the next year, the Army will escort the Little Rock 9 to school every day. They walk to school with the kids. They get on the bus with the kids. They take the kids from class to class. They sit next to the kids in the cafeteria, right? Or the kids are in the table. The soldiers are in the classroom or standing right outside of the classroom. The soldiers are there in uniform with weapons, helmets, all of it, for a year, right? I'm telling you, Eisenhower does nothing, and then makes a really good decision. Yeah, Eisenhower doesn't like being challenged on the Army like this, right? So he wins, right? This becomes a very, very famous scene. And of course, it's on the news like every single day, the whole school year long, basically, right? And this is terrible, terrible publicity for the South. Terrible publicity for Arkansas, right? The Governor Faubus is treated like a pariah, like he's some kind of saint, right? This also works because Eisenhower then threatens the rest of the South. He says, "You let these kids go to school, or I'm going to drop the Army into your cities as well, into Nashville, Memphis, Mobile, Jackson." He's like, "You name it, I'm going to do it." And everyone believes Eisenhower because Eisenhower already did it. Pretty good, huh? Okay. Let's go to the next number down. X, WX, right, is Ruby Bridges. So she's going to be like our last really big example of this happening. We're jump ahead a couple of years, 1960. Ruby Bridges is in kindergarten. She's a kindergartner and she's at Baton Rouge, Louisiana in 1960. And we have the same deal going on. Ruby Bridges is going to become the first elementary kid that is going to be escorted into school. Previously, it had all been high school kids and college kids. And now it's going to be elementary kids as well. They don't use the Army here because they think the soldiers are going to be too scary. So instead, they use federal marshals who are in suits. You know, they have guns and stuff if they need them, but they're federal marshals in suits, right? They figure that will be less scary for the kids. But they bring Ruby Bridges in. Here she is entering into kindergarten or exiting kindergarten on her first day of school. Now, on her first day, the entire day long, white family comes in and withdraws their kid. White family comes in and withdraws their kid. Another one, another one, another one. By the end of the day, all of the white families have withdrawn their kids from the school. Also, none of the teachers are willing to teach her. The only one teacher, Barbara Henry, right here. Barbara Henry is the only teacher willing to teach Ruby Bridges. And Barbara is, she's from Massachusetts. She had moved down to Louisiana. So she's teaching, by the end of the day, she's teaching Ruby in a classroom of 1. Ruby attends class by herself for the whole year. If any of you guys are running in the freshman election, you should probably get down to AT 200 right now. Yeah, that was the announcement. Ilha, he's I gotta go. All right. Okay, so there's something that we should think about this, right? This is 1996. Here's Barbara Henry and here's Ruby Bridges, okay? This is not that long ago. Ruby Bridges today is 64 years old. That's it. She's only 64. She's not even retired yet. She still works, right? She still works. Barbara Henry only died like 10 years ago, okay? This is not that long ago. Keep that in mind when people argue with you about this stuff and they say, oh, Black people should just get over it. It was a long time ago. It's not a long time ago. Ruby Bridges had to go to school under armed guard because she was being threatened with violence, right? And she's not even retired. She's like a public speaker today. This is not that long ago. All right, this prompts a very famous painting. One of the most famous paintings from the 1960s is this painting, The Problem We All Live With by Norman Rockwell. So take a moment, look at the painting, absorb what the painting is telling us. Okay, when you're given a visual medium to look at, there's some rules that you should follow with how to figure out what's important in a picture, okay? The first rule is the top of the painting is more important than the bottom. Top is more important than bottom. The second rule is inside is more important than the outside, okay? So the center top is the most important part of a picture. All right. The other thing that you look for, so you always look for what's at the top, what's in the center, and then the next thing you look for is what is the contrast, right? If it's a really dark painting, what's light? If it's a really light painting, what's dark, right? If it's a blue painting, what's red or orange or something, right? Like whatever the contrast is. Okay, so following those rules, obviously what is the most important thing in this painting? What are you supposed to look at? Yeah, Kira.
Well, the contrast is her in like her bright white dress. So it kind of portrays her as like pure. And then surrounding her is kind of like chaos and a lot of like negative things, like the tomato thrown and the N-word on the wall. Right. And her dark skin next to the light background and the white dress, right? Plus it's in the top half of the painting, plus it's in the center of the painting. Obviously, Rockwell wants us to look at here first, right? From here, our eyes are naturally drawn to, I would say the splattering on the wall, right? Do you guys agree? Right? This is, Rockwell knows what he's doing. He's not an idiot, right? So he draws your eye here, and while your eye goes here, your eyes naturally expand from there, and you latch onto this, okay? Wentao, what is this painting supposed to make us feel?
I think it's supposed to make us feel how like they needed support and protection from the deputy U.S. Marshals to protect them from like the violent groups, because you can see like the KKK written on the left side top as well. Right.
There's the implied threat. Let's deal with the wording on the back here, right? What can you tell me about the wording on the back?
It's racial slang that's just used to like degrade like African Americans.
Yeah. Okay. We know what I'm sorry, that wasn't clear. We know what the meaning is. We know what the definition is. But what can you tell me about how it's written on the wall?
It's written in like the big letters to give it like emphasis, I think, to show like how people like feel really strongly about this.
So would you guys, and anyone, not just Wintow, but anyone, would you guys recognize that this written on the wall is written recently, or was it written a while ago? Yeah, Drew?
It was written a while ago.
What's your evidence?
Because it's faded.
Yeah, it looks like it's been cleaned up, right? Like it's been cleaned up, but it's still there. Okay, the problem we all live with is this long-lasting problem that's here, right? So we have the ancient problem, and then we have the modern new problem, right? They're both manifestations of the same problem. Yash, what are we supposed to feel about the painting?
In like from a modern sense, I guess we're supposed to feel bad about the situations that existed back then.
Yeah. In 1963, what are you supposed to feel? The painting's in 63. So what are you supposed to feel then? Yash?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on who's viewing the painting at this time, because I guess anyone would feel, I mean, I can't generalize, but I would say anyone would feel that maybe the actions that have been going on aren't necessarily right, but then there's also like the other groups of people who do feel that this is correct. So I guess it depends on who's viewing the painting.
Right, but I think Rockwell definitely has something he wants you to feel, right? The painter has an opinion, right? The painter has a position, right? He wants you to feel sympathy. He wants you to emphasize, I think Kira is the one who said that the white dress symbolizes purity, right? She's pure, she's innocent, right? She doesn't have a weapon, she's got pencils, right? And she's walking here with armed guards. This painting becomes probably the most famous painting of the 1960s, probably. Norman Rockwell is one of maybe the most famous painter in America at this time period, right? And becomes very, very prominent. This is a big example of this. And Rockwell normally, most of his paintings are like really traditional kind of Americana paintings, right? Like the family at Thanksgiving with the turkey or something like this. This is an example of Rockwell stepping out. And if Rockwell, the father of Americana, says that this is Americana, then we've got a problem, right? In a way, he's saying that this is as traditional as Thanksgiving is. Okay, on that note, I think we're going to stop here. I am